The summer I spent a night in a cemetery in Paris, I fell in love. In 2003, France was gripped by 3 heat waves, June, July and August, with hot and dry weather blocked over the country, and even in Paris, the nights never dropped below 23 degrees Celsius. People didn't know it yet. Front pages were showing tourists splashing in fountains to cool off, but the heat would lead to 15,000 deaths. Hindsight being what it is, I probably shouldn't have written postcards saying the weather was the killer. My best friend and I wanted to take the trip together, but he, being who he is, couldn't make up his mind and then didn't want to go at all. I didn't want to cancel, so I went alone. Back then I was a lot more adventurous and a lot less responsible. And to be fair, I kind of had hoped he'd help with the planning. When I touched down at the airport, I had no plans, no clue, and nothing booked but my flight home in 2 weeks' time. I had a cheap guidebook and the unfailing conviction that everything would turn out fine. I took the bus shuttle from the airport. 60 minutes to the front of the Palais Garnier in the middle of the city. That seemed like a good start. From there I ambled vaguely north, looking left and right for hotels and their shocking prices that I certainly couldn't afford. I crossed a bridge and realized I was going over a cemetery. Consulting my guidebook, I learned that on the Cimetière de Montmartre a lot of famous people are buried. Not written in my guidebook, the gates are closed at 6 p.m. and there's really no way you can haul yourself and your luggage over the wall after an international flight and walking in a heatwave for a couple of hours. I strolled around the mausoleums. Sometimes I saw other people. If anybody informed me that it was closing time and I should leave, I didn't realize it. After a while it was getting dark. I was alone and the gate was shut. It was warm and I was tired. Only 10 minutes up the road from the bridge there was a hostel I could afford, and I checked in bright and early the next morning. The cheapest was a single bunk in a shared dorm, 6 beds each and a lucky draw of roommates. It would be almost fully booked with a revolving cast of young international travelers for my entire stay, people who, much like me, wanted an experience and had very low standards. I remember the Americans, a lanky black guy with his 2 friends, who wanted to smoke a joint one evening and ended up paying €50 for a few small crumbs of pressed hash from one of the Algerian pizza delivery men who happened to walk by. The very loud English girl and her mousy friend that, when tipsy, consistently strolled away with cocktails still in hand from the bars and restaurants next to the Moulin Rouge, and were chased down more than once by irritated servers that demanded they hand back the glasses. A backpacker from Australia that had become fast friends with one from Romania. They'd both talk and joke as if they'd known each other their entire lives, even though they'd just met the day before. And there were the twins, a Belgian brother and sister. Like the English girls, they shared a more comfortable double room on the lower floors, but like everyone else, they mingled in the common area most of the time. There was usually a time in the evening most everyone was hanging around the lobby or sitting outside the hostel on a tiny terrace, just after people came back from hot and sweaty day trips and before the partygoers would vanish into the heat of the night. On my first evening there I was shy around all the strangers, and maybe sensing that I felt a little left out, she maneuvered her brother to the left of me and sat down to the right, made certain to make me a part of the conversation, introducing me to the people she knew and introducing us together to those she didn't. As part of a small group of the current residents of the hostel, we visited Versailles. She pointed out a myriad of little things she noticed, the spiderweb on the roses, the rainbow shimmer of the spraying fountains, with the same enthusiasm as the hall of mirrors in the palace or the graffiti on the train ride over. On the first Sunday of the month, the museums in Paris are free of charge, which is the worst day to visit any but the most obscure of them. So of course she dragged us to the Louvre, and we shoved our way through the crowd to see the Mona Lisa. When the both of them went out at night, she made sure to ask if I wanted to come with, which I did, except the one time I'd finally eaten too much pizza. And all the while, I fell deeply, deeply in love with her brother. He wasn't like his personable sister. He wasn't loudly sociable and not as forthright, but just as kind and warm, only in a much more calm, much more intimate way. Quiet, almost timid, he relied on his sister to speak on his behalf. Close to the hostel, a pizzeria had newly opened. It was run by Algerians, who sat and smoked in the front. While we were there, it had an incredible deal. Buy one, get one of the same size for free, and they didn't really do small either. This meant that for most of our time together, we ate pizza, and between the three of us, there was always one left over we struggled to finish. We couldn't even give it away, with many of our fellow travelers partaking in the same deal. The front desk reprimanded us all not to leave uneaten pizza behind when we were off to bed. We had 2 margarita, a vegetariana, and a salami, when he confessed that on my first evening he'd said something about me to his sister, and she decided then and there she would make us happen if she could help it. After she was sure of her success, though, she took great pleasure awkwardly inserting herself between us, in the metro, the bar, or on a walk, to torture us for her own amusement. She did, however, graciously spend the night in the room of the English girls to give us some space. There was nothing timid about him then. He knew what he wanted. I think we both did. Time flies. The English girls jetted onwards to Italy to continue in a different country, a different hostel with a different set of bars, much the same routine. I lost money to a thimble rig doing the card game on the Boulevard de Clichy. The date printed on my return ticket was approaching. They walked me to the bus station. He kissed me goodbye. We stayed in touch over the internet. We'd play games together, the three of us, and actually remained close friends for a time. We'd always say that we should all take a trip together again. 2 years later, she invited me to come to his funeral. But I couldn't make myself go.